Let's start with the story. What inspired you to start Venture Solutions Group?
It's kind of funny, like anything else, right? You just see an opportunity that needs solved. And I had a bunch of friends that were starting businesses, and just friends. You hang out and you talk and you hear some of their struggles. And I've been running my oldest business. Has been running for 30 years, right? So the first 15 years that was going through a lot of those trials, and I didn't have anybody. So I watched them going through this and just kind of helped them answer some questions, things that I had been through, things that I had to learn how to do, or problems I had to solve, and just help them kind of walk through that. And I watched them as they solve those problems become really, really successful in implementing them. And after the fifth or sixth of the friends that was doing that, one of them said, you probably ought to like start a business doing this. A lot of people could use this. So we got a bunch of them together and brought some experienced people together, and that was really the formation of it. We just realized that there's a lot of expertise and experience that isn't available to people starting businesses. And when you actually get that on your team and you actually have that, it increases the speed of your decisions, increases the efficiency of your decisions, and it makes you massively scalable. And so once I saw that in my own businesses, bringing my own people in that had more experience and expertise, and applying that, my own businesses scaled too. And so that's really what started. Just saw that opportunity, and there's a lot of businesses. The market's changing right now. The world's changing. A lot of new technologies, a lot of new global economics and macroeconomics that are complicating things, and especially in like smaller communities, right? And so just decided it was time to put a team together that could help people work through those faster and better.
Yeah, speaking about your team, I've heard you mention, and it does say on our website, you've said that VSG is made up of operators, not consultants.
Yeah.
What does that mean to you in actual practice?
So if you consulting by practice, right, is really just providing information. And so a lot of that is, contextual, is, hey, here's the things you need to do at a high level. And you listen to, there's a lot of the guys, online, and you hire consultants. They come in, they give you general ideas and general ways to apply things in your business. And I've hired those guys myself, and occasionally they'll provide enough insight to help you kind of think through that. But uh, what I'm talking about is people that have actually solved those problems, people that have actually had to learn how to apply, inflationary controls or employee issues or cultural issues or scaling issues or operational systems and processes. And one thing I've found through doing this and working with all these different businesses is, though people know their businesses, right? People know their process. People know whatever they're making, whatever their service they're providing, they know how to do the work. The process of scaling that and multiplying themselves and systematically improving and defining processes and integrating quality and repetition into their processes, those are all standard. Like, so as we brought these people in, a lot of these guys have built multiple businesses, and they've done this, like myself, multiple times over and over again in different practices or different businesses or different operations. The way you motivate people, the way you align people, the way you scale people, the way you systemize people is all uniform. And so a lot of people talk about, the concept of doing that, but when you've actually been on the field and you've actually played the game and you've implemented those strategies, those are the guys that are on our team. They've actually either done it themselves, or they've been on teams and businesses that have done it and worked through those problems multiple times. And so we want guys that have been in the trenches and understand. And there's also a dynamic too. When you're talking to a business owner, there's an element of frustration and confusion and acceptance that has to happen. And so talking to a consultant versus talking to an operator that's been in the trenches and has had to deal with that themselves, both the mental, the physical, the financial, all those pieces, it really helps knowing that person's done it before, right? And so they know what the business owner's feeling. They understand the stresses he's going through. They understand what it means to him. They understand what it means to his passion and his purpose. And so that's what I mean. We have people that have been there, that have felt that have had the emotional connection to this problems that need to be solved. And it makes us, I believe, better at helping.
Yeah. Obviously, you've identified a lot of problems that are in common problems that different business owners go through. What would you say are the top most common problems that these business owners identify before they find you?
There's a lot of different symptoms, right? We see a lot of businesses that are struggling with margins, or struggling with quality, or struggling with finding people or keeping people. Um, we find that all comes down to the foundational principles of the business that were usually never really thought through, right? Or not ever aligned to the people themselves. And so usually they've got a disconnect between their people and their processes as far as their goals and their objectives and their purpose for building a business, right? So the business owner starts a business for a purpose or a passion that he has, and a lot of times doesn't know how to convert that to his people or his processes, or to his people so they can build processes. And that's a lot what we focus on with our group, right? And you've been in some of those where we really focus on making sure that the business owner understands and can communicate what he's trying to create. And then what you find is the people, especially the people that join you, and especially in today's world, they want to be part of something. So what we do is we usually find that that's the core problem that needs to be solved, because once you align people, once you align a mission, once you align a culture, you have a team that knows how to play the game, and they play the game together.
Yeah. VSG talks about in our messaging how we don't want business owners to feel like they're alone without a team, and talking about VSG's solutions. And a lot of founders and business owners talk about how their business depends on them to survive. Why is that a dangerous place for them to live?
Because their energy, right, is directly related to the performance of the business. So a lot of the most mentally strong will fight through that and carry on, but still the business wanes, the business slows, the process is slow, and the company feels that, right? So when you have a team, and it's just like being on a football team or a basketball team or anything else, right? You can have the greatest quarterback in the world, but if he's having a bad day, or somebody misses their assignment on the team, everybody sees that, right? So imagine having a one-person team, right? So your performance is directly related to, think about a one-person sport, right? Their performance is directly related to that person, but a business is a team. So if you have a team that all understands and can cover each other and understands what the objective is, then you can scale so much faster, right? And your energy is not directly related to your performance. Your team's understanding of the mission is directly related to the performance.
Yeah. Especially if you're one of the businesses that we're trying to help, and VSG is trying to help reach enterprise value through scalability.
100%.
As if VSG brings in their network of brokers, banks, to be able to have a meaningful exit, that is one of the most common questions that does turn people away is, are you working in your business, or are you working on your business?
Yeah.
So of that question, working in your business versus on your business, how do you feel like VSG bridges that gap?
So exactly right, Jesse. So when you have a business that is completely reliant on one person, right, and you're an investor trying to buy that business, one, your value is worth as much as you are, right? So when you have a team, however, that can work independently, an investor or a bank, the reliability and the risk ratio that investor is willing to risk, so directly comparison to your exit, is multiplied massively, right? So we've seen some great businesses with great margins, great performance, but the owner wants to exit, but he hasn't built a team beneath him that's able to carry on the business, right? So there's either a cost of building that for the new investor or the new acquirer, or they've got to retain you on, which has a risk factor to itself, right? So so if you're talking, that the value or the risk of that from a operational sense, scalability is all limited, right? And performance is all limited. If you're talking that evaluation of the business, it's a massive limiter on your value of your exit. Yeah. So the first thing we tell people if you're going to exit is make sure that business is sustainable without you, right?
Yeah. One thing that I've noticed that's unique to VSG is that fractional executive work has become more and more common. Mm-hmm. But the way that VSG is set up with your board members and with your weekly meetings is that you get an entire team of fractional executives with different expertise.
Sure.
Would you agree with that?
That's 100%. I mean, if you have, if you, in fact, I had a friend that told me when we were first starting VSG, he's like, man, if I had that when I started my business, it would have been so much easier, right? Because executives are expensive, and they're becoming more and more expensive. And experienced people are becoming more and more expensive and more difficult to find, especially in smaller communities. And so if you take the cost of going and finding, an operations manager and a CFO and a CTO and a legal officer and marketing officer, all those executives that can actually combine and bring together a strategy that you can scale massively is going to cost you hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not millions and millions of dollars, right? And you still have to know how to lead those people. Even though they bring leadership with them, you still have to have a combined vision that aligns them, right? So we've seen a lot of companies that have hired those people and taken those risks as well. But those people are the first people to exit when the leader doesn't have a unified vision, because they understand the value of that and the impact of that. So one is acquiring them, and two is actually keeping them, right? So with VSG, we bring people that can help build that foundation, but also have the operational expertise at less than the cost of a labor employee, right? So that was the whole idea behind it is, how do you get all those people on your team? How do you get access to them? How do you get the expertise? And how do you apply that to your business in a foundational way that you can utilize in a way you can afford? And so that was really the complicated part of getting VSG together. And you were part of this too, right? So we pulled all these people together, our connections and our friends, and said, hey, we look at our community and we look at what's happening. There's a lot of corporate coming in and buying up small businesses. There's a big transition happening in the baby boomer eras. There are a lot of them exiting, either transitioning to family, or they didn't know how to properly, transition it to family or aren't able to. So they're transitioning it to, second generational, or they're transitioning it to a corporate. And I'm a big fan of entrepreneurialism and independence in that small market. And so, we realized that in order for us to help, our local communities be able to actually, keep the small business independent ownership mindset, capitalistic kind of entrepreneurial culture, we needed to provide a resource for those businesses to call on to actually bring in the expertise to be able to compete with these corporate that are coming in, right? They're bringing all the executives. They got lots of expertise. They got lots of financial power. They got lots of resources. But those people, the smaller business has been in the market a long time. They have an advantage. They just have to know how to use it. Yeah. And so applying the VSG method and team to that can help them strategize, find their purpose, find their vision, apply their processes, and we see them compete when they do that.
Yeah. So as we're speaking to business owners who are going to see this video, who likely clicked one of our links and has the opportunity to schedule a free discovery call, whether it's somebody that's going through M&A, just understanding the value of driving up their enterprise value for an exit, or whether they're just looking for consulting work through fractional executives to help scale their business to even get to the point where they can look at an exit or anything like that. If you met one of these people in person or at a networking event or at a lunch or a dinner, what is the one thing you would want them to know about VSG?
In short, simple answer is, if I had VSG when I started my first businesses, I'd probably still have my hair. The amount of energy that's saved and the amount of growth that can happen when you have that team together at the start, or even when you're just starting to scale or you need to get through that. That's the short answer is it's what every small business wishes they had, that would massively multiply the return.
Venture Solutions Group provides support from board members who've started, scaled, and sold successful businesses.